Hi, moms and dads and kids that are already on. This is the pre-live moment in a way. We haven't quite started, but if you are on and you are watching, now is the perfect time to start cutting out the pieces on this template if you haven't done it already. So once again, we kind of expect these to be pre-cut. So if you haven't cut out all the shapes you see on this piece of paper, well, time to start cutting. Another thing to note is we're going to need some of the scrap blank paper from the remnants after you finished cutting. So make sure that you don't dispose of it. Cut out the shapes and just keep any scrap paper. We won't need a lot, but we will need some. Okay, well, happy snipping. We'll be going live really soon with the actual start of the program. Once again, this is just the pre-cutting section for everybody who is already on with us. Hi, James.
Hi. Can you see me and hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. We're
Okay,
just getting moms and dads and kids to start cutting out the pieces of paper already. James, let me introduce him. He's actually my husband and my partner, and he's going to be watching the chat. So if you guys have anything important to say, any questions, you can kind of key that into the chat, and James will be able to respond via chat. Is that correct, James?
Yes, I'm just trying it out now.
Perfect. So why don't you put on the chat, James, please start cutting out your templates. Just cut along the outside of the black lines.
I'll just put that in the chat.
Yeah, please do that. So anybody who comes on can see that. I'm just going to put my glasses on because I have really bad eyesight. I can see.
And do you want to show them what the templates are supposed to look like after they get cut out now, or?
I think it's quite self-explanatory. I'll show them later on, definitely.
Okay.
But basically, just kind of cut along the black outlines.
Yeah.
Just cut on the outside of the black. Are parents asking about what it should look like?
No. I'm just
and once again, please don't dispose of any scraps or remnants. Can you put that down as well, James? We're going to either need spare sheets of paper or you can use the remnants from the cutout because we're going to need that to make some parts of the puppet.
Okay.
So maybe just, hey, moms and dads, grab a spare piece of paper. Or keep the remnants of your template cutting. I love this song. For me and for you, never think to myself. So once again, moms and dads, if you're just coming on now, what I'm getting everybody to do is to pre-cut out these templates. We actually need them pre-cut. So very simple, just grab your scissors, snip, snip, or snip, snip. And we're gonna have you just cut along the outside of the black lines. You should end up with 8 pieces that we will be using during the program. If you do have spare sheets of paper, that's perfect. We will need some spare paper. Otherwise, there's lots of spare paper from the remnants after you finish cutting out. So please don't throw that away. We like to reuse and recycle what we can. So please keep the scraps for what we will need later on.
Oh, we're getting a question how to get the template. Where is it? And how to get the paper to print. I think the template was probably a link that you could download and then print off a printer if you have one at home. I would think that's how you print the template. Did you get that question, Karina?
Hi guys, I'm on. I hear a question, James, about templates. Well, you actually get the template off the SYSTIC website, if I'm not wrong. So I think you guys would have received some pre-notification. Otherwise, I think you can just jump onto the website. I don't have the URL on hand, but I'm guessing because you've joined the live stream, you probably have it. So just download and print the template. It's available in a PDF format. Once you've printed, please start cutting these babies out. We're going to be needing them to make our puppet. But you know what? It should be relatively simple for you to just watch and follow along at your own time after, if that's what you want to do as well. Does that help?
Yes, Hannah stepped in and saved us all. She put the link there.
Oh, beautiful. I love this saving of people and one and all. Perfect. All right. Hello, moms and dads. Hello, boys and girls. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Gateway's third birthday party. Woo! I love birthdays. My name is Karina. I'm from Players Workshop and Players Theater, and I'm actually here having you guys experience a wonderful craft activity with the Gateway Kids Club. Now, it's the third birthday, and we're going to be helping you guys make a little teddy bear puppet. Here we go. And it's going to look something like this. And it'll have moving parts. You can move the legs and you can move the arms, or you could move both. Here's another version that I have, and it'll be something along the lines of what you guys will be making. Now, I'm just going to be showing you guys an edited version of what to make, and then you can go back and make the full version like this on your own time with your own kind of like creativity, and you can do what you need to do. I'm going to put my glasses on because I'm quite blind. I can see now. Now I'm not alone. We actually have some friends with us. We have James. Hello, James.
Hello,
now I don't
everyone.
know if James. Perfect. So he's going to be the dude in charge of conversing with you guys via chat. He's actually my husband and my partner. Now we don't just have James. We also have three amazing friends with us. We have Uliana at the red table rather. Hello. We have Isaac at the yellow table. Hello, Isaac. Yo, yo, yo. We also have Eliza at the blue table. There you are. Hi, Eliza.
Hello, everyone.
All right. Hi. Now, time is a precious commodity, so we're going to get right to it. Moms and dads, I've already given you a heads up. We actually need this template, and we need you to also have cut out all the little bibs and bobs, the pieces of the template. So once again, if you haven't done that, please start snipping away right now. Now, I already have some cut out pieces, and so do my friends who are joining me today. And at the end of your snipping, you should have 8 pieces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We're also going to be needing you to have a pair of scissors, clearly, because you need to do some cutting. We need you to have some toilet roll. I have some spare here. We need you to have some glue. We highly recommend the Yoo-hoo or Oohoo glue only because it works really well and dries quite fast. We also need you to have a hole punch. A hole punch. There are different kinds. You could have the 2-hole hole punch, single hole punches that look different. It really doesn't make a difference. And if you don't have a hole punch, you could potentially use the tip of a pencil, a sharp pencil, to punch the holes that you require. But I'll let you guys figure that out. And we also need some paper fasteners or paper brads. These are what these little gold things are. And if you don't know what it is, usually what happens is you can take paper fastener, and when you open up the little tail, it allows you to actually hold pieces of paper together. And that's what we're going to do to hold the legs and the arms onto our bear. So first step, let us choose a toilet roll. If you have multiple toilet rolls, please choose one that you think looks the best, because this will become the main body, like this, of your little teddy bear puppet. So once again, pick up a toilet roll. There are different colors. It might be white. It might be brown. Mine's both brown and white.
What is going to be?
It doesn't really make a difference. Now, once you've gotten your toilet roll, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to pick up one of the template pieces. Now, what is a template? Well, a template is something that you can do, or rather use, to copy and trace out shapes. So we're going to be using a template to trace a shape onto our toilet roll. Specifically, we're looking for you to grab this T-shaped looking template like this. I'm just holding it up to my camera here so you get a better view. So once again, friends, moms and dads, please locate your little T-shaped template. Next step, I'd like you to get a marker. Doesn't make a difference what color it is. I'm going to be using black only because black is a more obvious color for screen. But if you want to, you can choose a different color or a color that you want your bear to be. So it will be less obvious when you're actually done with the finished product. Today, I'm going to be using black. So once again, toilet roll, template, and marker. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to take the template and we're going to hold it to the bottom edge of your toilet roll. And once it's in this position, we're going to use the marker to trace out the shape. So once again, we're going to put the template on the bottom edge, line it up to the bottom edge like this. And once you've done that, we're going to take our marker and start tracing it out. So join along. I'm just going to begin here and you guys can just catch up. So once again, you would kind of just follow along the outside of your cut out template. This little template here looks a little bit like a T or like a Teen Titans tower.
Teen Titans
So
Tower.
I've cut out, or rather I have kind of drawn it on already. You can see it here. Now what happens if you are tracing and all of a sudden, oh no, your template kind of moves offline? It's okay. Just reposition it using the lines you've already drawn and continue drawing out your shape. So I'm just going to give you a few seconds more to complete tracing out this little T shape on your toilet roll, like that. And I'm going to hold it up here. We have our friends doing that right now. Now, if your toilet roll is really naughty because it's round and it's like rolling all over the place, you can actually hold it between two thick books to help you keep it in place.
Wow.
Very nice, Juliana. That's perfect. Beautiful. Moms and dads can help hold it. You can hold it between your knees. Oh, I see Isaac's too, and Eliza's. Looks like our friends are done. Okay, brilliant. Now you can put the template aside. We will need it again later, but not anymore right now. The next thing we need is the scissors. Now we need the scissors because we're going to cut out sections of this shape. Listen to what I have to say first. Don't start cutting because we're not cutting the whole thing out. We're only going to cut out some sections. Yeah. So I'm going to show you by drawing an outline of the section that we're going to cut. We're going to cut this and this. So it looks a little bit like an upside down L. And on the other side, we're going to do a mirror. We're going to cut along this line and along this line. So I'm just going to show you with my fingers a trace out of the line that we're going to cut. And you guys can trace along with me so we all know what we're talking about and we're all on the same page. So we're going to cut along this line and this line. And we're going to cut along this line and this line. And you're going to do that with your scissors. Now, don't worry about it needing to be, oh my God, it needs to be perfect, it's too pretty. The great thing about art and craft is there's no right or wrong. Now, we have some friends who say, oh no, this cardboard is kind of stiff to cut. And you know what? They are right. Cardboard is a thicker kind of paper. So moms and dads, feel free to jump in and help your little ones. I'm going to start cutting this side, which is my left side. Okay. Off I go. Cut, cut, snip, snip. Perfect. And then for this kind of edge, I'm just kind of wedging my scissors in there. And I'm just going to kind of snip away, cutting along the lines. I've done this side. I'm going to show you what I've done. You end up with a cut that looks something like this. So it's a bit like an upside down L, like this. And once you've done one side, you'll be well equipped to be able to start on the other side. So once again, moms and dads, you can help your little ones if they need the help to cut along the cardboard. We have Eliza working hard there. Very good. And Isaac too. Hello, Isaac. You have somebody helping you? Wonderful. It's great getting help if you need it.
Can you show us?
Okay. Very nice, Juliana. Beautiful. So I'm going to show you what I have. I have one upside down L here. You can see. Okay. And one upside down L here that has been cut off.
So two upside down L.
I'll give you guys a few more seconds to kind of catch up. Now, for those moms and dads and kids that are already done, the next thing we're going to be grabbing are two additional templates and the ones that look like little sticks, like this. One has an L, one has an R. This will be the next template we need. So I'm just giving everybody a heads up about our next step. Once again, complete cutting out those upside down L's. Yeah. Okay, so we're going to assume that most people are done. Our friends here on screen are. Now, what are we going to do with these little strips of template? Well, this one says L. This one says R. L and R for me stands for left and right in this instance. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this L and we're going to put it against the left side. So this is my left side of the section that I've cut out in that empty space.
Where's my right one?
But before we do that, I'm going to have you guys punch out the holes. Now, if you look at each of these templates, I'm seeing if you guys can see it here. There's a little circle drawn at the top and a little circle drawn at the bottom. we're going to punch those little circles out with our hole puncher. We're going to do this for both the left piece and the right piece. So I'm going to let you guys get to it. Once again, we are punching out the little holes on the template. You can actually line it up, get a visual kind of guide of where it is, get it to line up, and then punch away. That's one. And that's two. I'm going to show it against my hand, so hopefully you can see the contrast. I have my two little holes punched out, 1 and 2. If this paper rips a little, it's not too bad. This is just a template. We won't actually be using it in the final puppet. I'm going to do it on the other side, here. Lining it up, punch.
The holes are here.
Lining it up,
And
punch.
look.
Okay, so I have them all punched out like this. Now, the reason we punch out the holes is because when we trace the template out, we can use these holes to tell us where to put the holes in the cardboard. And that's what I'm going to be doing next. So coming back to our toilet roll, I'm going to take the piece that says L, and I'm going to put it on the left-hand side, which is this side for me, of my toilet roll. I'm going to hold it here, and all I want to trace out right now are the holes. So the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to take my marker. Once it's all lined up against the edges, I'm going to just color in the little bicycles like this.
Can you hold it?
See, I now have 2 black dots on the left-hand side of my toilet roll. I'm going to let you guys catch up with that as I continue working on my right-hand side. So once again, line up the templates to the 2 edges, to the cut edges of the toilet roll, and color in the little black holes, like so. I'm just going to color this in and color this in. And at the end of this, you should end up with, I'll just wait for my top-down view to pop back. There we go. You'll end up with 2 little black dots on the left and 2 little black dots on the right. And I think you guys can guess what's going to happen next. We're going to take the same hole punches that we've been using, and we're going to punch out holes into the cardboard toilet roll. So I'm going to let you guys get to it. Sometimes, because depending on what hole punch you use, it'll let about what you need to get the holes in. Once again, use the same lining up technique that you used for the paper. So I'm going to punch one hole out and punch this other hole out. Cardboard can be tricky to punch. Moms and dads, feel free to lend your grown-up power and strength. Eliza's doing it on her own. She's got strong arms and hands. Show me, Eliza! Good job. Punch. Come on, Isaac, can you do it? Ah, it's tricky, isn't it, sometimes?
Makes that satisfying
there we
clicking crunch
go.
sound when it works.
Oh, look, Juliana's got hers done. That's brilliant.
Very nice, Juliana.
Okay, so we have basically 2 holes here, and we have 2 holes here. So this is the first step for our toilet roll. This is going to be our teddy bear body. Brilliant.
Do we need to do the same thing for the legs?
Yes, we will need to punch out holes for the legs. So let me get to that. That's a really good question. I'm going to put these little strippy templates to the side. I don't think we'll be needing those anymore. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to be grabbing our little leg template. It's going to say leg. Now, this leg template will become one of our legs, but we want our teddy bear to have 2 legs. So what we're going to do is we're going to need to trace out another leg. How? Well, I mentioned that we needed some spare paper just now. So if you have any scrap paper from the template cutting, or you have a spare piece of paper, let's get to it. I have a spare piece of paper here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take my leg and using it in this way so that I can see the word leg, I'm going to just trace it out with my marker. So once again, we're going to be tracing out a leg with your marker on a piece of paper. You can use a fresh sheet of paper, or you can use scrap paper. Yes, James, you have a question.
I just some of our viewers are having a tough time catching up with the speed at which you're going. Would it be possible to slow down a bit?
Sure, of course. Let's just figure out where people are at right now. I just want to be sure that we can also finish up the craft.
Yeah. Let me just check with everybody. where they're at.
Okay, perfect.
Papa, Mama udah jalan.
So I'm just
Mama
gonna
udah
recap
jalan.
actually while we wait. We have our toilet roll,
Mama
like that,
semua.
and we would have drawn our little T template onto the toilet roll. The next thing
Making
we would
holes,
have
yeah.
done is we would have cut out along this line and this line. So we have an upside down L cut out. And we would also have cut along this line and this line. So we have another upside down L cut out. The next
I
thing
think,
we would
Karina,
have
the issue that people are having is punching the holes takes a bit of time.
I totally understand. The cardboard is tricky, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's because the cardboard is tough.
Okay.
So, what are these
we'll
holes
let-
actually going to be for?
That's a good question. Well, these holes are going to be the points that we
Okay, let's
fasten
just
the
trace
arms and
out
legs
one
on.
leg, but don't need
So
to
if you
punch
look at
the
my little
holes.
teddy bear here,
Oh.
we have the paper fasteners that go in the holes that hold the arms and the legs on in place. Today for this craft, we're going to be gluing the arms on and making our legs move. But it's the same principle for both arms and legs. So once you know how to make the legs move, you'll be able to know how to make the arms move, and you'd be able to do that in your own time at home.
Okay.
And if we cut to the front screen so I can show them how it looks, this allows us to have our teddy bear move his legs and also move his arms. Boing, 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 boing. Or just his arms. Naughty teddy. There we go. Like this.
Let me just check in with everybody.
So that's why we need the holes.
And
question.
these ones that we've done are the arms or the legs?
Well, we've done 2 holes on each side. So it's both the arms and the legs. The arms will sit on the top holes and the legs will sit on the bottom holes. So later when we fasten the legs in, or rather fasten the moving bits in, we'll be focusing on the legs.
I
and
don't
we'll
know
be
whether she said
on
which
the
one,
front
another
end.
one.
How big do the holes need to be? Because some people don't have a hole puncher. They're trying to use a pencil or
A
something like
pencil?
that. Yeah.
Well, it doesn't need to be overly big. The holes need to be big enough for us to be able to get the paper fastener in and to have moving space. So this is something that we're not looking for a snug fit. We're not trying to
Okay.
get it to be stuck. We want it to be fastened with enough moving room so that we're able to get the legs to move.
Okay.
Um,
So we want the fastener to be able to go through the hole
arm is here.
and
I
move
have
around inside the hole. And
Yes,
to achieve that, we might do something like, let's say you've got a pencil and you
Yes.
punch it in. You can't just have a little bit of a punch. You probably want to push the pencil all the way through and then
Yes,
wiggle it
probably not
around a
all
bit
the
or
way
something
through,
like
but
that.
yes, definitely kind
Yeah,
of.
not the whole
holding
pencil
this
through. I
section.
just mean
So
that,
I might
you know,
use
to
a
the
pencil
full width
and
of the
punch
pencil.
in a little bit like this.
Yeah. Show us how you would
Can
do
you
it with a
hold it?
pencil.
So I'm just kind of shoving the pencil in. Once again, it helps if it's sharp. I've just kind of poked it in a
Okay.
little bit, given a little bit of a swirl around like this.
Swirl around.
Yeah.
I'm going to
just
write
so
that
that
in the
you get a
chat.
hole, and then you end up with a hole that looks
I'm going
like
to call it a
this.
pro tip.
Pro tip, excellent. So you can use a pencil if you have some other kind of sharpish implement like a tweezer. You could potentially use that as well. Most people have pencils, so it's a simple enough trick to use. So once again, I'm going to just show you again. You can use the pencil. You can poke it into the cardboard. Make sure it's sharp. You're going to have to provide counter resistance. Kind of poke it in. Like this.
Somebody's asking if you can show a close up of the paper fastener in the hole. I think to see. Well, actually, they're just saying a close up on
So
the paper
what
fastener, but I
you-
think maybe
what-
it's about
So
how
Well,
the paper fastener.
looks like this. It's just
Yeah,
like a
will end up
golden
looking
rod.
when it's in the hole.
what do we
terms of
need to
spacing.
do now?
Essentially, we will put it in here like this, and then we
Okay.
would open it up.
But what are we gonna do it? What are we gonna do now?
Yeah, we're actually going to move on to the next steps already. That's a good question. So it'll kind of look something like this. And on the inside, we'll open it up. But
Okay.
I'll tell you when we get there.
Right. So for now,
Okay,
we
so I'm
just need to have the holes. Okay.
Yes, and I'm going to assume most people have caught up already with that. So I'm going to now move on to the next step. So we're going to be, as I mentioned, taking our leg template.
Late template. I did it
And we're going to put it on our spare piece of paper or any scraps that we had from our template cutting out earlier on.
She's doing the second
And
leg.
we're going to trace it out
gonna
on
do
the
the
piece of
second hand
paper.
on the
This is going to
this
give
hand.
us our second leg.
yeah.
And once
And
you've
also
done that,
Isaac.
I'd also like
The
you to do the same thing as
Isaac.
with the template. Punch out the
Isn't it
hole
the
in the
first
template that you
two?
see. So again, you've got 2 holes in your leg template, 2 circles. Punch
Leg.
them out. So Isaac,
Leg.
Juliana, and Eliza, let's punch out these
Punch, huh?
holes. Now,
Punch.
before you start punching, just a
Oh.
tip. This is going to become your leg.
There's lots
So
of
please make sure that you don't punch too close to the top. We want to be sure that we don't tear this paper because we need 2 distinct holes for this to be
I have
able
a
to
tough
work.
time punching the
So
hole
do
with the,
punch carefully.
into the
Now,
cardboard.
when you're working at home on your own, you can actually trace this out onto toilet roll. So you have cardboard. You can trace it out onto stiffer
Oh,
paper
nice, yeah.
or a thicker stock paper. You can trace it out onto a paper plate even, so that you have a thicker
Do we
paper
need to punch the hands
for the
holes
ease of this,
too?
we're just going to be using our template.
Hmm?
So I'm going to punch out 2
Okay.
holes. Once again, be careful because you don't want to break the holes and you don't want the holes
Do
to join.
we need to do the same thing for the hand?
Yes, we will, but we will do that later on. So once again, I have a leg
Yeah,
cut
we need
out
to
with
do the
2
same
holes.
thing to punch it.
And
but
once the 2 holes
we will
have
do
been
it
punched,
later.
we are going to then put the holes onto our trace out
Oh.
so that we have basically a mirror
Leg.
copy
It's
of
this
a
one,
leg.
the point. Can you like hold this?
Okay, excellent. So once again, we're going to be tracing the leg out, the template. Make sure that you can see the word leg here. Then we're going to color in the 2 black circles so that we know where to punch. And once you've done that, let's cut out our leg. I'm just going to move ahead and do that because I think the
But
other
she's
stuff
gonna
we
do
kind
it.
of know what we're
It's gonna
going to do.
cut the leg.
That's
and
right.
the
So we're going to cut that.
Cut paper is easier. You can do the holes on the hands. You cut the hands.
Why don't we hold off doing the holes in the hands first? We'll just focus on getting the leg done.
But I think so. We need to do the same thing.
I actually really love the sound of scissors snipping
I
on
don't
paper
know. I
and
need to
card.
ask.
So at this point in time, I have my leg template, and I also have my leg template and a copy of my
Need
leg
to
template.
do the hole for
And so we're gonna need to do the holes in
You
this
use the
other
leg.
side as well. So let's punch out the holes in the piece that we have just cut out.
leg.
Once again, bearing in mind to not punch too close together and to not punch too close to the top. Here we go. So currently I have 2 little leg cutouts here. And when we actually do end up using it, I'm going to turn this around so that we have 2 white legs like this. Now, once again, this craft actually works best if we use a thicker paper or we use cardboard, but we're using this thinner paper today just to give you guys a sense of how to make it, and also for speed,
How
because
can
as we all
finish the
realize,
whole
cardboard
bag
is a
today?
little trickier to cut out. So we're using paper right now, but ideally we'd be using a thicker cardstock, or
Yeah,
we'll be
you
using
can
paper plates, or you might even be using your toilet roll to cut it out. So, okay, we now have our 2 legs over here. So let me show you what we're going to have to do next. This is kind of exciting. Now.
Karina,
Yes.
sorry just to give you a pause, but people are actually having quite a bit of trouble, I think, poking the cardboard with they're trying to use things like keys or having trouble with using a pencil or a pen. So is there
Right.
anything about how they would do that you can more clearly illustrate?
Okay, well, I would definitely say try not to use keys. That's probably too large and too blunt an object. A sharp pencil is probably best. The big thing that you need is counter resistance. So I'm going to give you an example
maybe you
with
can
this.
show us up close how it would be done, because I think people are struggling with the with that aspect.
Okay, so let me give you an example. So if I'm just pushing my pencil down like this, you're just going to end up pushing your cardboard flat. As you can see, I've just flattened my cardboard because it's quite stiff. So what you need to do is provide counter resistance by putting your hands behind it. Please make sure that your hands are clear from the sharp point because you could end up poking yourself. So with the counter resistance over here, kind of stopping the cardboard from indenting inwards, you should be able to get enough leverage to screw a little hole in.
Oh, okay. So if you put your fingers on the inside of the toilet roll, but
making
away
sure
from
that
where
it's not directly where you're poking.
So away from where you're poking, but on the inside, you can use it to provide resistance to where the pencil goes through, and then
definitely
make a hole.
Yep.
Something like that. I mean, some people were saying that if they have a regular hole puncher, which I think means it's the kind with the 2 holes.
The 2 holes?
They're having a hard time getting the toilet roll to fit inside that.
Oh, okay. I know that back home when I worked on the craft, I did use a 2-hole puncher. I would say in that situation, I would kind of pry this open a little bit like this. So I would lift this flap up a little bit and kind of jimmy the cardboard in.
Okay.
And just to make sure it syncs up, I usually work with the hole puncher upside down so that I can see the hole marking with the hole punch.
Yeah. And some people are saying that using a pen is actually stronger than using a pencil.
That is a really brilliant suggestion. Yeah, that's fine. I think usually with arts and crafts, the great thing is that there's no right or wrong answer. So many times, even for myself, I do what I need to do to make something work for me. So if a pencil doesn't work and you're using a sharp pen, that's a great idea as well.
Yeah, I mean, people were asking about what they could use. I would suggest a nail or a screw, but I know a lot of people don't have those things hanging around. I know sometimes
you could use a nail or a screw as well. I also use that at home. You can use a flathead screwdriver. That's actually better than a Phillips head, which is a star. So you can use a flathead small screwdriver to punch a hole. But in those instances, because you're using a hard metal object, I will say that it's definitely a mom and dad job.
Yeah.
And a big safety issue would be to keep your hands away.
Okay.
Yeah?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to assume that people have kind of caught up a little bit with this chat about the holes, and hopefully are kind of where they should be with regard to the legs over here. I'm just going to trim this up. This one looks a bit ugly. Okay. So it's something like this. Now, the next thing that we're going to do is we have the holes punched here. You have your second part of your leg that you've traced out, and the holes punched into both legs. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to be using some string. Now, moms and dads, thanks for following along as best you can. I am moving quicker than I normally would, just to be sure that we can actually complete the craft. Now, this video will be available on our YouTube channel tomorrow. So if you need to rewatch it to kind of catch up with anything and get all the pieces and parts together that you'll need, you can always remake it tomorrow. This is actually a really good practice so that you know what you get to do. All right, now if we cut back down to the top-down screen, I'm going to be having you guys grab your piece of string. Now, when I made these, I just used black sewing thread. You can use whatever string you have. I would say try to avoid, for this part at least, rope. This might be a little bit too thick for ease of moving. So we're looking for either thread. It doesn't make a difference what color. Kind of this is just like a craft string. You can see it's quite fine. Now, just as a guide for length, again, this is just an estimation. It really isn't a rule. I'm using about 3 toilet roll lengths of string. The way that I would measure it would be put the roll here against the string, 1 roll, 2 rolls, 3 rolls, and I cut. So I have a piece of string that is about 3 toilet roll lengths long. 1, 2, 3. Now, once again, this is just a guide. It isn't a rule. Because we're going to be tying some knots, I find it's better to have a little bit extra length because I've got, you know, stubby fingers a little bit. So it allows me to kind of work with the finer movements. So once again, about 3 toilet rolls length. Once you have your string kind of done, we're going to now grab our T template once more. And we're just going to be using this as a guideline for how wide apart we need to tie the arms, or rather in this instance, the legs. We're going to be focusing on making our moving part, the legs today. The arms will move in exactly the same way. So you would just rinse and repeat and do that for the arms when you're working on it at home in your own time. So let's just say we've got the string for everybody. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to be taking our legs and we're going to be tying it together so that we are able to get the legs to move in sync. Now, we just want to be sure that our legs aren't like this, because then it looks like we have two legs of the same side. So I would say you can perhaps flip one of the legs round like this so that we have one leg facing this way. I'll actually flip it the other way. Let me just see if you guys can see. No. Let me just outline this a little bit so you can see it better. Okay, now you can see it better. So we don't have white against white. So now we're going to have the legs facing in opposite directions. Now, how are we going to use this template? Well, we're going to use this template as a guideline for how far apart the legs should be. So let's just take the legs, and you can see the holes there. Let's line up the holes so that we can kind of see the edge of the template in the middle of the hole. I'm going to kind of hold this up so you can see. I'm going to be working a bit blind here because it's above my eye line. But you can see that I'm not putting my leg right at the side like this. I'm having it overlap my template a little bit so that I can see the edge of my template kind of down the middle line of my holes here. So you want it about that far apart from each other. So working with it back on the table, I'm going to kind of put the legs about this far apart. So when you tie the knot, this is about how far apart you want your legs to be. So how do we work the string through the holes? Well, it's quite simple. We're going to start with the left leg. Now with the left leg, we're taking the string and we're working with it top down. You're going to put the string in from the top and pull it through the top hole. There are 2 holes. We're putting it in the top hole and not the bottom hole. So once again, we're going to take the string, working from the top, putting it in this way from the top, in through the top hole. So it ends up looking something like this. And I'm going to kind of string this through. Now on the next side, we're not going to put the string from the top. We're going to be putting the string from the bottom. So once again, on the left hole, we'll string from the top. On the right hole, we're going to string from the bottom. So I'm going to take my string and now work it through, once again, the top side hole of my leg. And putting it in through the top. Like so. So once I have done that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to tie my string together in a knot. I'm doing it solo over here. And the kind of knot I'm using is essentially just a dead knot. You're basically going to kind of just loop the loop twice. So this is my first loop. And moms and dads, you can help your kids tie the knot if you need to. One side. And then I'm going to loop again. It's easier if you have 2 people to help out. Maybe the kids can help hold the legs in place and moms and dads can help knot. I'm doing this solo. And remember, the template here is just to guide you for roughly how far apart you want your legs to be. And as you get better with the craft, you can actually iterate. Iterate means that you do something, you see the outcome, you think about what you can do to make the outcome better, and you try again. So I have now my 2 little legs tied together about my template apart, bearing in mind that the holes for my legs will be sitting so that the template line runs through the middle of my hole. I'm going to hold this up so you can see. I think hopefully the contrast is good enough. My 2 legs are tied together along the top holes with just a simple dead knot. If you need 2 people to help out, the kids can help hold the legs in place, as mommy, daddy, Coco, or Tete, or the big sister or big brother can help tie the knot. And once that's done, I'm going to have you guys begin to start putting it onto the toilet roll. Now, before we put it on the toilet roll, let me just show you the next step that we kind of have to do. We're going to take this toilet roll, and you can see that I've cut this upside. Let me just see if the focus can get better. Okay, so we've cut along this L, so we have an upside down L. On this uncut side, we're just going to make a fold. We're going to take this flap and we're just going to fold it down along that invisible seam. So it becomes something like this. Just fold it in. And from this view, it's just folded in like that. And we're going to do this for the other side as well. This is my cut edge here. I'm going to fold along this uncut edge, kind of following this invisible line. I'm just going to fold this down. So it looks like you have a channel like this. This gives us the flat edge to attach the arms and the legs to. Looking at it from this way, it looks something like this.
Karina?
Yep.
Can we go back and do the string part again?
Sure, yes, of course.
I think people couldn't really see it.
Yeah, I'm trying to find a way to have you guys see it a bit better too, because the angle's a bit far, so you probably can't see the finer sections of what I'm doing. Let me see if I can hold it up here. So as you can see, I have it kind of strung through like you would put keys on a keychain. I have it strung through on the top holes, but not the bottom holes. The bottom holes are for us to fasten to the body. So just the top holes.
Just now, the top holes. And you had mentioned before that it goes in from the top.
Yes. So on this left-hand side, the string goes down like this, so that we have the loose end sticking up here. On the right-hand side, the string goes up like this, so that we have the loose end come out here. So essentially, we end up with a piece of string. I'm going to use my hands that looks like this.
And then how do you tie the knot so it doesn't just squeeze the 2 pieces of paper together? Because that's, you know, when I try to tie the knot, it just kind of crushes the tops of the legs together.
Got that. So I would say, firstly, a gentle touch. Secondly, it's very helpful if you have somebody or your kids, for instance, can help you hold the legs down, so that you've already kind of have a fixed point, like a fixed distance. And then mom and dad or somebody older can help tie the knot with the string while this is held down. I would say just make sure that you don't pull too tight.
Right. But I mean, so when you tie the knot, I think that's what I'm at least having a hard time understanding is how do you tie the knot so it doesn't, you see, like I got my string and it makes the whole thing smaller, like it just crushes the leg. So how do you tie the knot so that it ties on itself?
Well, I would just use my thick piece of rope here so you can see. I would say probably use a gentle touch. So I'm just gonna, with nothing there, show you. So I'd be holding this down, it would be through the holes.
Yeah.
I would make my first loop.
Okay.
And I want it to be, let's just say, about this distance apart.
Okay.
So I'm not going to pull any more than this, because if I pull any tighter, it's going to get smaller. So let's just say I want it about this distance apart. So this is where I'm going to see it. Then I'm going to, what I do is I hold it down a little bit so that this section here doesn't move where I've just looped. And I would create another loop. with the string. And I would just then, with resistance, pull it against this fixed point here. So now I
Okay.
have a knot that isn't pulled taut. You can see I still have my loop of space here, but I have a knot up there.
Right. I see. Okay.
Yeah.
And again, this was just to demonstrate. We were using this rope, the thicker rope, just as a demonstration of how to do
just so
the
you
knot.
can see, because I understand that. I mean, with the fineness of this, it's like trying to look at a piece of hair, correct, in the distance.
Yeah.
It becomes hard to see what it is. So I'm using this thicker rope just to give you an example of what you would do in that scenario.
Okay.
Yeah.
So hopefully
Does that help explain it?
That helps explain things. So now we have the two legs, and we've got the string going in from the top hole, in through the top hole of the left one.
Yeah.
And then up through the bottom of the top hole on the right one.
Yes.
So both through the top holes, but one coming in from one direction, one coming out the other direction.
And then we tie the knot.
And then we tie the knot at the top.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So that we have two little dingly dangly legs like this that are knotted at the top. Once again, it's a bit hard for you guys to see this because it's so fine.
Yeah, put it up close like that so we can see. Okay. So as you can see, it's going only through the top holes.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. And I'm not too sure if people have caught up with this section here, where we kind of fold over and bend this down and bend.
Yeah, maybe you can explain how you get the line, the invisible line you talk about. I mean, basically, if you want, people can even draw a line that's just parallel.
Yeah, if you want to do that, you could definitely do that. I mean, it doesn't affect as anything, you can see, I'm not trying to get, I don't know if you can see my crease mark. I'm not trying to get the straightest line possible. I'm really just, in a way, imagining that there's a line that runs. I'll show you my crease. It's running like this right now. I'm just going to imagine that there's a line that runs down from this point to there, and that's where I'll fold, and from this point to there.
Basically, really a line that's parallel to the one that we cut.
Yes, exactly. It's just parallel to our little
starting from that where that T ends. Basically.
Yes, and we're not looking for something that's precision. So I mean, we use the word parallel here very loosely.
Yes,
we're really just kind of folding it down like this.
Okay.
So that we end up with a little channel here. Again, I'm trying to help you guys see this better. A little channel here, and this channel gives us a flat edge, a flat surface to put the legs onto. Yeah?
Okay.
Okay. So now once you've done that, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to get our brads. I've got some brads here that are little baby brads. These are really tiny. Again, I don't know if you can see it so well. To be honest, in this scenario, the smaller the better. If you have a very long brad, what might end up happening is that the tails start knocking into each other or getting in the way of the movement. So we're trying to find some little brads that work. Now, in my bear, this one, I actually have an alternate way of fastening in case you don't have a brad. And I've just used a piece of thick rope as a way of locking the moving part in. And I'll show, hopefully we have enough time for me to be able to show you guys how to just do that. It's really quite simple. It's just a knot on one end and a knot on the other end. So let's just grab your little pieces of brads. And you're going to need two, one for each leg. Now we're going to take our left leg, and using the bottom hole of the left leg, the bottom hole of the left leg, we're going to put it into the bottom hole of your little teddy bear shape here on the left-hand side. Now, the way you're going to put it in is you're going to take the brad and put it in through the top, like this.
Sorry,
and then it's going to go...
Did you put it through the bottom hole or the top hole?
I put it in through the bottom hole.
Oh,
so you can see my string is on the top. The brad is in the bottom hole. But I put it in so that the tail is sitting underneath and not poking up through the top. We don't want the tail sticking up like this.
Yeah, so we're holding it up and we're putting the brad through from the top of the bottom hole of the left leg.
That's correct. So we're going to be putting it in like this. And then continuing, the tail is then going to make its way through the bottom hole in the toilet roll. Like so. And the way you get a brad to fasten is you just open up the tail. Now, once again, what we're looking for is for it to be kind of in place, but not tight. We're not trying to make it snug. We're not looking for a snug fit.
Okay. Can we just back up a second so that people
Yeah.
understand? Because you're using the lingo of the tail, which, considering we're talking about building a bear, might get a bit confusing. You're talking about the tail of the brad. Maybe you can show them the brad and show them what you mean by the tail.
Yeah, I'll do that. Let me just put this in. There we go. So I don't know how well you can see the brad. This is just kind of the head. The tail is just this little pointy bit that sticks out.
Right. So the
And
pointy bit
for
that you're
most
going to
brads,
end up
you can kind of open it up like so. Again, the contrast isn't very good. Do I have something maybe green? You can see that I've opened it up a little bit.
Yeah.
So that's just the tail. You shouldn't open it up until you've put it into the toilet roll. Once
Right.
it's in, you can open it up.
Then you open it up. Okay.
Like so.
People are asking if they don't have that, is there something else they can
Yes,
use?
you can just use some thick string if you have thick string lying around. So I'm going to put one leg in with the brad like I've just done here. And I don't know if you can see on the inside, I've kind of just opened up the tail.
Uh-huh.
And you want the leg to be on, but not tight. You don't want it to be stuck on. You want it to be
Right.
able to move about. Now on the other side, let me just get a handle of my string here. I'm going to show you how to use a piece of rope to fasten it in if you don't have a brad. Again, I like to work with the rope long because that way it's just easy to tie knots. I'm just going to tie a double knot at the end. So I'm going to just tie once, knot, and a knot again. All I'm looking for is a head or a knot that is bigger than the hole, if that makes sense.
All right. So if you don't have a paper brad,
Yeah.
as is explained in the chat here, you can use a piece of twine or yarn, and
Yes.
then you make a knot on one end, and that knot
Yes.
needs to be bigger than the hole.
Exactly, because all it is it acts like a stopper. It stops the string from pulling all the way through the hole.
Okay.
So once again, I just use a double knot. If you need to knot 3 times, knot 3 times. If you need to knot 4 times, knot 4 times.
Just basically keep on putting on knots until it's big enough that when it goes through the hole, it doesn't slip all the way through.
Exactly. I'm just going to untie the previous knot that I had tied. So that I have more string to work with. Ooh.
So why did we do that?
Let me explain it.
Okay.
Give me a second. Okay, so we have this over here. Now what I'm going to do instead of using a brad is I'm going to take the part that isn't knotted off my string and I'm going to work it from the underside of my hole. And I'm going to pull it up through my hole like this. And what I'm going to end up with is I'm going to end up with a knot that's on the inside of my toilet roll.
So you've gone through the bottom hole on the other
right.
side of the bear, the right side of the bear.
Yes.
But the lower hole from inside the toilet
yes,
roll.
so the knot is now sitting on the inside.
So the knot is now sitting on the inside. Okay.
You can do it either way, but I do it this way because it's easier to work with open space outside of the toilet roll than it is to try and tie knots inside a toilet roll.
Okay.
So there's a knot here, and as you can see, if I tug gently, this knot isn't coming out from the hole.
Right.
That's all you want to do. That's all the knot does. It just acts like a stopper.
Yeah. It's like the head of the brad. Okay.
Exactly. And once you've done that, I'm just going to sharpen my string here so it's not too tight. And I'm going to put it in through the bottom hole of the leg. So once again, in terms of where it goes into the leg, is exactly the same as the other side where it would be for the brad, but instead of a brad, we're using a piece of string.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'm putting it in through that bottom hole.
So this is the leg that we haven't used already for the other side. So if you're doing this for the first leg because they don't have a paper brad, let's say, you would be doing it on the left leg because that would be the first one. But otherwise, we're doing it on the right one.
It doesn't make a difference which leg. I'm just basically showing you in a way what you should do if you don't have a paper fastener.
Yeah.
That's the only thing. And then once I kind of get it through, I'm just now going to tie another knot so that it's big enough Don't make it too tight because you don't want to stop the leg from moving. You're going to try and just tie a knot so that it sits towards the leg, and it's not too small so that it goes through, but you can still kind of get movement.
Yeah, and I think the secret here to having the knot not having the knot go right up against the leg, what would you do so that you don't have it, tight, the knot tighten against the leg?
I would just take my time with it, really, and just kind of like knot against it. Before you fully tighten down a knot, there's actually some small wiggle room where you can kind of just move the knot around. So I might just move the knot around till it's kind of in not too close a position.
Yeah. Okay. So take your time and don't try to wiggle it so that it's not too tight against the leg.
Yes. And then I'm just going to cut off the excess because I don't really need the excess anymore. The excess was just so that I could tie knots easily.
Okay.
And then now, instead of using a brad, I have just some twine holding the leg in place, which allows me to get the legs to kind of move.
Yeah, can you show us more closely, Sarb? I mean, before you show us the movement, show us what the knotted brad looks like from the outside, from the top of the bear.
Yep, give me a second. I'm just adjusting something here. Okay, so it would just look like double knots on the outside of the bear, just a knot, and the same way there was just a knot on the inside of the bear. So you can just see it's just two knots, like a pair of dumbbells or barbells.
Okay.
And it just allows you in a way to hold the leg in so that it's not snug or overly tight, but allows it just a little bit of free movement. So we will let parents catch up with that. Now, these are the legs. As mentioned, I'm not going to be using the arms for this tutorial, but I will only stick them down. The arms will function movement-wise exactly the same as the legs. So if you wanted to make the arms move, you would do exactly the same process as you would with the legs, up where the arms are. But for this particular tutorial, I'm just going to glue the arms down. And for those of you who have reached this part, Eliza, Isaac, and Uliana, why don't we trace the arm on the others on your spare piece of paper so that now we have a second arm. So I'm just going to trace my arm out. Like so, on the piece of paper, so that I have my second arm. But once again, for this tutorial, I'm just going to be gluing the arms down. When you're working with it at home, you're free to make them move as well. Ideally, this paper will be replaced with a thicker card, cardstock. You can use paper plate. If you'd like, you can use cardboard as well. This little guy is made using cardboard. It's actually just the legs are made out of toilet roll, and the arms are made out of toilet roll, like so. The thicker, the better in this instance, because it also provides stability with the paper, and it also makes it weigh a little bit more because it uses gravity to bring the legs down after you finish pulling it up. Now, once you've traced the other arm, you're going to then cut this arm out. I'm going to get you guys to punch holes as well into the arms like you did before. I think my friends here, Isaac, Uliana, and Eliza are experts at this already. And just include the holes here. I'm doing this so that when you are working with it at home, you can actually make it move. You don't technically need the holes if you're just sticking it down. And now I'm going to cut the arm out. So once you guys finish tracing and punching the holes, you can just cut the arm out. What are things like on the chat, James?
To be honest, there's a feeling that it's quite difficult.
Yes, it can be a little bit tricky, but this is actually quite a good craft for all the family to kind of get engaged in.
Well, I think it's one of those things where it probably is a bit difficult to do live at the same time and rate that you're doing it at.
Yes, but you know what? The great thing is we're actually going to have the YouTube video available starting tomorrow so that they get to watch me live right now, follow along as they can, and then you guys can do it on your own time tomorrow with the YouTube video guiding you along.
Well, that's what I was going to say is I think like if I'm doing it here, it would probably help if I can go back and rewatch exactly how you're doing specific things so that I can take my own time to do it.
Most definitely.
Because it's I mean, some of the simple techniques can be quite difficult, like we were discussing with the punching the hole in the cardboard is not easy.
I know, exactly. Yeah. And it'll be kind of cool if you actually, like, for instance, had all the implements in place already so that you wouldn't be needing to use a pencil to punch through or stuff like that, but you could just use your hole punch. It might simplify things. I'm just tracing out an outline so you can actually see it against my white paper. Okay. So now we have our two arms here, and I'm just going to show it to you this way. We're going to be sticking the arms on just so that our little bear has arms right now. Now, this one says arm, so I clearly don't want my arm to be seen like that, rather the word arm. So I'm going to be making it so it's upside down from the front view. And the way that we're going to line this up with the sticking on is the bottom holes in our arm, here and here, are going to line up with the holes on the toilet roll. Can you guys see the holes?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you can? Great. Here and here. So working with it this way, I'm going to line up my bottom arm to this bottom hole circle here, and I will just glue it down. And when you're working with the arms, do make sure that you kind of have them so that they're facing in opposite directions, because otherwise it looks as if you've got two right arms or two left arms. The glue that I'm going to be using is Yoo-Hoo glue. And the way that I'm going to kind of glue it on, and you can use your own way, is I'm just going to put it on the toilet roll just towards the top of the hole. Let me just show you here. So this is my hole here. I'm just putting the glue at the top. And then I can just stick my arm down. And before you fix it permanently, just have a look at it, see that you like how the arm looks. And then you can kind of leave it in place. And likewise to the other side, I'll see if I can show you here. That's my hole there. I'm just going to put it towards the top so that there is some surface area for it. And then I'm going to stick my arm on by lining up the holes. And before I finalize it, I'm just going to kind of reposition it so that I like how my arms look. Myself. So I have my arms kind of glued on right now. Once again, if you're working on this on your own time at home or watching the replay of the YouTube video, you can actually do exactly the same thing with the arms as you've done with the legs to get them to move. Like this? So I have the arms glued on.
Yes, I think so.
Sorry, Karina, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
So you know how when we tied the knot with the string, the thinner string, we tied it together with enough space for the legs or the arms to fit to reach those holes. And then do we need to leave a long piece of string for us to be able to pull on then?
Yes, please don't cut that off because I have my long string left over here and this is going to allow me to move my legs.
Right. So you don't want to leave you're not just tying the legs together.
No.
You're tying them together with a piece of string.
With a piece of string so that you end up with like a little kind of, rat's tail. You can't see the contrast here. You end up with like a little rat's tail, which will allow you to pull the legs.
Right, which is why you had us do such a long length of three.
Exactly.
3 times.
Now, I use an approximation of about 3 toilet rolls length, but you're free to use whatever length you want. You can make it longer and then cut to length later on. Good question. The only one that I cut short was if I'm using the string as a paper brad, in lieu of a paper brad, then I'll cut it shorter.
Right.
Okay, so now hopefully you can see the contrast here if we take it top down. I have my arms glued on. I have my little legs over here. The next thing I'm going to do is try and stick my belly and my snout on. Now, once again, these are the template pieces you've cut out. We're going to be using these template pieces today. But when you're working at home, feel free to use a thicker cardstock, paper plate. You can even use the toilet roll as kind of the cardboard that you use. And it actually gives it a nice round shape. Like my little bear here has a popping out belly. And that's because I traced it onto the cardboard of the toilet roll to stick it on. We're just using the paper template today for ease of working and for speed. Now, I don't want to just stick it on like this because I'm going to be able to see the word belly. So instead, I'm going to flip it upside down. And I'm going to take these two tabs here and fold it underneath. The tabs are going to be what I use to put glue on, so the glue doesn't show through my paper. If you're using cardboard toilet roll, the tabs are going to be used as the fastening point so that the curved belly can pop out forward like this. So the tabs are kind of the sticking on point. So take your belly, turn it upside down, and fold the two tabs underneath, like so. So it looks like a circle. I'm going to draw a little belly button on mine because I like my bear to have a belly button. I just use an X for that. And once you're done with that, you can then take the glue and apply it onto the tabs. Before you put the glue on, or rather before you stick it on, try and line it up so that you have your legs and your arms like so. You just want to try and centralize the belly as best as you can. And the belly lives a little bit towards the bottom of the toilet roll. So this is my toilet roll. It lives towards the bottom. Try not to stick the belly too high up because you might have a funny looking teddy. Like so. So I'm going to just put some glue rather onto the tabs. Once again, I'm trying to avoid putting it onto the actual belly shape so that it doesn't kind of go through.
Karina, how much glue do you have to put?
Oh, just a tiny touch. It doesn't take much. This is pretty amazing glue, Yoo-hoo. It's quite strong. It dries quickly. I've just kind of put two little, I don't know, like
a little dot.
5-cent coin. Just two little dabs is more than enough. And you kind of just find your center point. Once again, look at your legs and stuff and try and centralize the belly like so. And hold it in place till it dries or it doesn't move so much anymore.
But I think the key for that is, if you can, to try avoid having the glue smudge over to the actual belly part and is just on the tabs, right?
Yes, we don't need much. It's just paper, so it'll definitely stay on quite easily. You just want to kind of leave the glue on the tab so that you don't end up having like a water stain on the belly or something like that. Yep. Right. So this is my little belly here that I've stuck on. And you can see I've tried to centralize it so it kind of sits in the middle of your arm and leg, visually speaking. And then you're going to do exactly the same thing for the snout. Now, before I stick the snout on, what I kind of want to do is I want to just draw in a nose and the kind of little mouth section. So using, let me just show you the snout. You'll see the word snout. As long as you're reading the word snout correctly, you know that this is the top and this is the bottom. So just flip it around and you want to kind of draw the nose on the top of the snout. I just like make a little smile and color it in like so. That will be a good nose shape. So this is the top. Make a little smile and just color it in. And then after that, you can just draw a line down the center like so. See if you can see. And then I make two smiles. One on the left side, like so. And then one on the right side, like so. And I put little dots in, just because I think it's cute. Like so. And then exactly like with the belly, you're going to take the two tails and you're just going to fold it under. And those two tails are going to become the tabs that you use for the glue to glue it onto your bear, like so. So once again, draw the face in, fold the tails underneath, and apply glue. Like so. And before you permanently put it on, another tip that I like to have is I kind of move it about a little bit so I can kind of see where I want it to go. Don't put the nose too close to the top because then your bear won't have any eyes. So we want to just take the nose and move it slightly down to give yourself some eye space. Put the nose on and you can kind of hold it down till it dries. And it doesn't take long. And with regard to the amount of glue that you need to use, etc., you really just need a tiny bit of glue to hold it on. So it looks like this.
Just now when you're moving it about, you hadn't yet put it down. The glue hadn't yet touched
yes,
the,
I hadn't put it down yet. I was just kind of visually trying to see where I like the nose to be. And it's really cool because if you move the mouth a little bit up, you'll get one look. If you move it a little bit down, you'll get a different look. You can even make a bear look like it's going like that by kind of moving it off kilter. So just play around with it to see what you like. And once you've stuck the nose down, all you need to do is draw on some eyes. Now, there are many different kinds of eyes you can have. You can just have an eye that's just like a black dot like this. You can have an eye that's like a circle with a black dot in the center, like this. If you want a girl, you can even put on some eyelashes if you want. You can add an eyelid if you want. So this is just really for you to kind of play with regard to what kind of eye you want. You can make the eyes go this way too.
Can you put an eye patch and make a pirate bear?
Oh my goodness, I'm going to make a pirate bear. I like that. So I'm going to draw one eye on this side. We'll wait for the top-down view to come. I'm going to draw one. I'm going to make my eyes larger than normal so you guys can see. I'm going to make an eye on this side. One eye. I'm going to make mine a pirate bear. So I'm going to put a patch here. A patch is kind of just like a little upside down triangle-y shape that isn't quite a triangle. It's a little bit curved. And I'm just going to draw the eye patch line. Here's my eye patch bear. Ta-da! Rawr! Arr! Sounds a bit piratey and bear-like as well. Like so.
So I guess you can just decorate everything, right? I mean, like if you wanted to add little claws to the bear.
Oh, yes, most definitely. Like if you see my finished piece here, I've just drawn little claw marks at the bottom. If you're using white on white, you can just outline in black. If you wanted, you could color it in. So I have some brown here. I'm just going to give him a bit of like a brown belly here. I like texture, so I'm not doing a full-on color. I'm just kind of doing these lines here like that. So you could have a belly like this. Oh, can you see? Like so. Mine's a tough pirate bear, so I'm going to give mine a scar. It's got a scar here because he's so tough. Like so. And the final step would be to stick the ears on. Now, the ears is the final template that you have. I've drawn in the little kind of earpieces for you. And I'm going to stick it on the back of the toilet roll. So it'll be like this on this side. And make sure that we can see the black lines. Now, the thing about bear ears is that they tend to be quite small. So you want to be sure that you don't push it up too much because then it looks a bit more like a mouse. And if you were making a mouse puppet, you could do that. So I would glue my ears on so that they're just poking out like so. So it looks more bear-like. And the way that you would glue is simple. You would just take some glue, put it onto the bottom of your ear template. You don't need much again. And kind of as you're working with it, just get a visual sense of where you want it before you actually press it down. And then put it in place. I'm just going to hold it here a little bit so it dries. Like so. Like this. There.
Oh, don't stick onto the table again.
Like so.
Oh my god.
And when we're looking at the moving parts, a really important thing about craft, especially about puppetry, is the idea of iteration. Now, iteration is when you do something, you check the results of what you've done, and then you think, ooh, what could I do to make this a little bit better? What can I change? And then you apply those changes to your second attempt of doing it. So with regard to the moving parts, we want it to be on securely, but not too tight because you want it to be able to move. And you want it to be able to move freely, like so. Now, the way that you can adjust would be to change how far apart you've tied the legs, for instance. But the template guideline is actually quite a good guideline for this particular puppet. Another thing you could adjust, perhaps, would be how tightly you fastened the brad, or how wide apart you have pulled the tail of the brad. So if you make your brad's tail very far apart, let me just see if they switch it to top down. Make it very far apart and very, very flat. It might make it tighter. If you make the brad's tail with a little bit more kind of space and a little bit more curvature, like so, it might be, can you see? I'm not too sure.
Maybe you could do one that's very tight and one that's looser so that you can see the comparison.
Yeah, that's what I tried to do. I think it's a bit hard to see here. So tight might be it's really, really flat like this.
That would make the result.
That would make it almost impossible to move the leg because you're saying stop, don't move. You know, if you make it just a little bit looser and the bend more, this is like a soft brass, and the bend a little bit more generous, like so. I don't know if you can see it. Let me just get my hands on it. You can see this is a lot more.
There's more space for the paper to move.
Yes. If you can see here, there's a lot more space. There we go. Contrast is better. A lot more space for the paper to move, and that might allow you to move the leg a bit better. Once again, it's best to be using a thicker cardstock or something heavier because what you need is gravity for the legs to fall back down. But if you don't have enough gravity, just another small pro tip, if you're just using paper, you can just cut a little bit square of paper like this. It could be any shape. It doesn't make a difference. It's just a small square of paper. And stick it onto the bottoms of the leg for a little bit more weight.
And that would be on the back of the leg? So
yes, on the back of the leg. So it's not, so you don't see it from the front. And you would just kind of add some paper towards the back to just make it a little bit heavier if you need the weight to get the leg to move. My leg seems to be moving quite well, so I don't really need the weight for that. But if you needed the extra weight, like this extra guy here is made with paper, and I've actually stuck some extra paper on the back to give the legs weight because it needed it.
And it looks like if you have to be careful not to pull too hard, otherwise.
Oh, definitely. If you're using paper, no, I think you can just give it a shake and it'll come back down again.
Like a Jean-Claude Van Damme kind of like.
Hacha!
Yeah.
Woohoo! Wee!
Pretty old reference. Probably no kids will get that. Wow, I like that. I can see Eliza's bear. It looks really great. I love the
that's
mouth.
Awesome. Can we see Luke's bear? Very nice. Want to turn your bear towards the front? Oh, look at him.
Oh, look
nice. I like how yours has the red color too. And as you can see, I mean, even though we're using the same templates and we're kind of working on it together but apart, we can end up with many different looking items really based on your own creativity and how you actually end up attaching the pieces, the choices you make about where they go, the colors that you use. Oh, that's so amazing.
Luke, your bear looks very serious.
Oh, I really, he's like, oh, that's awesome. I like his little mouth shape as well. So that's great. Okay.
Those are
So now,
wonderful.
moms and dads, thank you so much for joining us today. We did move through things quite quickly. And some of these bits are a little bit tricky to be doing together live. But you know what? The great thing about this is we actually have a replay on YouTube available for all of you to watch. And that will be fantastic if you kind of work along with us at a second time. This is a really good kind of trial piece so you know what you're going for. And when you work on it in your own time, you can kind of like get the parts you need together. You can make your own colors. You can color everything beforehand if you need to. I highly recommend using slightly thicker elements. So you can use like a paper plate or a thicker cardstock to be able to get the parts moving. And I challenge you to make the arms move as well. It's exactly the same process as the legs, just done again at the top for the arms. Um, this isn't just a bear. You can actually make it many different things. You could increase the size of the ears and change the shape of the nose to make it a mouse. You can, make it a dinosaur depending on what kind of design you put on it. So this is a really good starting point for you guys to be able to kind of, create your own little world of creatures and characters. Now, this is a free program, so if you are kind of liking what you're seeing, if you're enjoying the work that Gateway does, feel free to click the button below. I don't know where it's going to come up. I'll have my little bear dance around. It might come up anywhere left or right for you to be able to just contribute to Gateway's art craft and art outreach activities. So once again, this is our little bear puppet we've made together as part of Gateway's third birthday party. This has been really exciting for me in a way. It's like a first time live stream. If I do make tutorials, it's usually on YouTube or kind of recorded. I don't have people following along, but this has been great. Eliza, I have loved having you with me. Isaac, I have loved having you with me. And Uliana, you too. Look at your amazing little bears. Moms and dads and friends at home, thank you so much for joining us. James, you've been an excellent partner representing the voice of the people back home. And I hope you guys had a good time, and I had a good time too. So take care, everybody. We love you guys so much. Happy third birthday, Gateway.
Yes, happy birthday, Gateway.
Yes, indeed. And we hope that you join us for our other programs that are coming right up. Love you guys. Bye-bye. Mwah. Mwah.
And look at my bear saying
3 kisses for luck.
A bear saying right.